Welcome everyone to this episode of Black Sisters Birth Academy's Inside Birth Podcast, and I'm your host, Midwife Christina Jermaine. The purpose of this podcast is to provide an intentional platform and community for the aspiring Black midwife who is looking to navigate her path to becoming a community midwife. There is a difference, all right? Our interviews are aimed to provide practical tools and knowledge for aspiring Black midwives who wants an inside look on the ins and outs of community midwifery based on what Black community midwives have experienced. We also want to spotlight and promote community midwives that are making a massive impact in their community, as well as foster ideas on how you too can become a woman of impact in birth work in the process. All right. So now today's episode, we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Miss Brenda Francis, and I'm going to read her bio. Okay. To me, she's my midwife, my mentor. So I'm going to read her bio. So Brenda Francis, she's an LMCPM, is a seasoned medical professional with over 25 years of medical experience, including nursing, birth work, education, and advocacy. Her focus is educating and encouraging childbearing women and families to actively participate in evidence-based maternity care while trusting in the natural process of birth. Miss Francis, or Miss Brenda, is on a quest to change the narrative within the birthing community while bringing awareness as well as solutions to the alarming maternal and infant mortality rates among women of color. So with that said, very warm welcome here at Inside Birth Podcast. So welcome, Mother Brenda.
Thank you.
Yes. So with that said, I just wanted to let you know that it's really an honor for you to be here with me today, because I called, like I said, this is Miss Brenda, I call her Mama Brenda. She's my mentor. I claimed her as my own mentor. And so I'm always blessed when she decides to come and pay me a visit, or, just to step in whenever I call her. So at this time, well, I'm going to thank you, Mother Brenda, for agreeing to be with us here. And I know today's interview we're going to have a great session. So with that said, I'm going to jump right into our questions for today. And the first question I have to ask you, Mother Brenda, is what called you into midwifery? Feel free to give your most authentic answers, because, at this podcast, we love real talk. All right. So what called you into becoming a midwife?
Okay. So first of all, I want to say thank you for having me. And the honor is all mine to be here to support you and getting the word out to what we do and who we are. So what called me to midwifery? So I could tell a small story. At the age of 7, we lived in a, I don't know, they call it today, when we co-lived with other family members. So it was my mom, my dad, my siblings. We lived with my grandmother, a great aunt, and one of my aunts lived. So we all lived under one roof in the city of Philadelphia. At that time, back in the 70s, my mom was pregnant with her 4th child, and she got no prenatal care. So, you know how sometimes we do. We had 1 baby, 2 babies, 3 babies, 4 babies. We can do this, unfortunately. So she got no prenatal care, and she goes into labor. One of my older aunts comes to get my parents to take them to the hospital. Well, my sister was born in the backseat of the car en route to the hospital. They went to one hospital and they turned them away because she didn't have a provider. When they arrived to the hospital, they said, "Who's your doctor?" "We don't have a doctor." "Oh, you can't come here." So they had to leave there and go to another hospital. Fortunately, the hospital they then went to was the hospital she was employed at. So she goes to the ER and she gets there and they go, "Who's your doctor?" "Well, the baby is already born."
Oh my gosh, you had the born.
The baby is born in the back of the car. And my dad says, "Well, we just want you to check her. We don't want to stay. We don't want to take up a bed. We just need you to check and make sure she and the baby are well." And so they found out that she was an employee there. So they said, okay, we'll check you. So they checked her. Her and the baby were fine. Me, the 7-year-old, sitting on the steps waiting for the word to come back that it's a boy or it's a girl, because there was no ultrasound being done back then. So the car pulls back up, and there's my mom with a baby. Wait, what? And my 7-year-old mom is like, wait a minute, what happened? Usually she go to the hospital. Dad comes home and says, it's a boy, it's a girl. We go to the hospital to visit her, whatever. But this time it wasn't like that. She came home and they were livid, you know. Children feed off of the energy of the adults, you know, that they look up to. So my dad was like, he said a bunch of choice words that I won't say right now.
Yeah.
And so they come back. They got the baby. I'm in awe and I'm amazed. And I'm also puzzled. Like, how did that happen? I thought you had to go to the hospital and stay there to get the baby to come back. Yeah. Well, that didn't happen. So when they go in the house and they're talking to my grandmother and blah, 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 mom was fine, baby was fine. I sat on the steps and I was so furious because they were furious. And I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to help moms have babies and it's not going to be in a hospital. Oh. And I never thought about it after that. My family always called me Nurse Kitty because I was so caring and I wanted to take care of everybody and fix everybody. So I thought my pathway would be to become a nurse. Yeah. So my journey was, that was my platform. I didn't know that until I was actually in midwifery school doing some self-discovery. And someone asked me this question: what led you to midwifery? What called you to midwifery? And I had to think. And I thought back to the 7-year-old me who spoke it out of her mouth. I spoke it into existence decades prior, you know, that one day I'm going to help moms have babies and it won't be in a hospital.
Wow. Yeah. I love that story. I love that because, I love it.
See, and a lot of times we don't think about the impact we have on children. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So my little 7-year-old self says, I'm going to do that. And years had gone by. I was in my late 40s when I even went to midwifery school. Yeah.
And so it's like full circles. I love when we may unconsciously be honoring the child within us. And so that's why I really do love hearing that even though you weren't aware that you were honoring the child within you, you ended up later down the line doing so. So I really, really love your story. So with that said, the second question I have is, what route did you take to become a midwife? It's like 3 parts. So what route did you take to become a midwife? Why did you choose that route? And if you can change one thing about that route, what would it be?
Okay. So that kind of piggybacks off of the same story, that along my road of life, I always knew that that's what I was going to do, but I didn't quite know how. There was no World Wide Web back then, of course. Our research was very limited. We had the card catalogs in the library.
Oh my God.
You know, and there was no one in my circle or sphere of influence talking about home birth, natural birth, any of that. Yeah. So the only thing I knew is to go the route of nursing. So I did everything. I started out as a home health aide and a unit secretary and got in a hospital, ended up going to nursing school. And once I became an LPN, I did everything in the field of nursing you could possibly imagine. Checking off the box. Nope, this ain't it. I did psych nursing. Nope, this definitely ain't it.
That ain't it.
I did oncology. I was like, whoa. Like, you name it, I tried it. I did adult daycare, pediatric daycare, you name it. Literally, I tried it. And I landed a job with Princeton Healthcare System back in 2006 as a community education and outreach worker. So I taught all the childbirth ed classes and CPR and infant car seat safety and you name it, I taught it. I go throughout the community of Central New Jersey, teaching, educating wherever I could go. And I would occasionally work in the hospital on the unit as a doula. And in doing that, I got so like frustrated with the way birth was. And like, it does not have to be this way. Mm-hmm. Granted, I gave birth to 3 children myself. My mm-hmm. first was in the hospital after 40 plus hours of labor with the side rails up. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Refusing any medication, refusing all their antics. Nope, not doing it, not doing it. My second was in an ambulance en route to the hospital. All because right, I refused to be in the hospital for 40 plus hours again. No. Gotcha. Mm-hmm, and then my third, I delivered into my own hands 15 minutes after getting to the hospital with no attendants, no assistance. Oh, wow. They put me in triage and said, okay, so someone will be in to get you checked and assessed, but admissions has to come in first. So while we waited for admissions, I had a baby. They're in triage. And so I'm holding a baby when admissions come in. They're like, I must be in the wrong room. She's like, no, that's the room you're supposed to be in. She was like, no, there's a woman and a baby in there. And they ran in the room. Oh my gosh, why didn't you ring the bell? I said, because you said you were coming back. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? Now, can I just go home because I don't need you? Clearly. Right? Just make sure everything's okay down there. Exactly. So at that point, I had made up in my little mind that if I ever do this again, I'm not coming back to the hospital. Yeah. So fast forward, by the time I entered into midwifery school, I had 10 grandchildren. I had been in attendance at all their births, and my oldest daughter begged me, I don't want to go to the hospital. Can I just stay at your house and give birth? Like, no, your dad will kill us both if he come home and we having a baby. No. So took her to the hospital and she was like, I don't understand why you made me do that. And I felt some type of way. Oh, wow. Like, no, I feel horrible. Yeah. But, I supported them all. I was there for all of them, but I didn't know anyone doing home births. Yeah. And so I did my homework. Now we have World Wide Web, and I'm researching schools. So there was a school in Seattle, Washington, rain and cold. There was a school in Maine, ice and snow. Yeah. And there was a school in Florida. With hot and sunny. I know. Take some for $500. Okay. Yeah. So that's what brought me to Florida. And I chose, so there were multiple routes to choose to become a midwife. Right. From New Jersey, so I could have gone the CM route. I could have gone the CNM route or CPM. I choose direct entry, which is CPM, because at that moment I realized I did not want to be under the auspices of the hospital, and I wanted autonomy. Right. Because I trust birth and I wanted to empower women to trust birth, so that's why I chose the direct entry or the CPM route. When I enrolled in midwifery school, CNMs didn't have complete autonomy. Right. In some states that they don't. They still don't in some places. Yeah. And so that's why I opted not to do that. It was like, okay, I'll go back to school, get my RN, then I'll go further to get my CNM. But I was like, number one, I ain't no spring chicken. Oh, goodness. And I don't want to work in no hospital. I didn't want to work in a hospital anyway. Yeah. And so I'm like, So that was the path I chose. I prayed about it. I said, God, you take me to where you need me to be. Yeah. And I'm that willing vessel. I'll go. So that brought me here to Florida. And that's why I chose that route. And you asked if I could
And if
change.
you could change one thing about that route, like what would it be? It could be
What would
anything or
that?
nothing at all.
Yeah. So if I could change something about that route that I chose,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably, because things are different now.
Yeah.
Right. Because now CNMs do have autonomy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they can function in an out of hospital setting. I would probably have selected, if things were like they are now, I would have probably selected CNM.
Okay, I don't know if I'm ready to dig into that one. That's a good one. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so let's dive in just a little bit into that. Is it possible, like, and what reasons behind it? Like, would you now select that other route?
For me, I would select that route because of although I don't want to work in the hospital, I do want to be able to have privileges to follow my clients.
Gotcha.
And to be able to extend that care. Because occasionally we get women that either risk out of care or for whatever reason, they need to be in the hospital.
Yes.
And then you're passing them off to the unfamiliar,
right.
You know? But if we could stay with them and see them through that transition, mm-hmm. You know, that would be the major reason why I would choose that.
And I think there's a lot of dynamics with that even as well, too, because we have to still get privileges to even function in each and every hospital. It's not like a universal, I get those privileges just because I have, the CNM
because I'm
license.
A CNM, I have privileges.
Exactly. No. Yes, I think that's really important for that clarification, because you may, think that way. I mean, I'm the same way in regards to, like, I started my route into nursing first. I mean, unbeknownst to me, I didn't even know there was other routes to midwifery. I just read this book and it only talked about the CNM route.
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm 16, I don't know. You could have told me to go to Jupiter. I'm like, well, Jupiter.
I'm going.
Yeah, exactly.
How do I get there?
So I tell people all the time, if you want to do something, you're going to do it. Because literally, they could have told me at 16, go to Jupiter. I'm like, Daddy, I'm going to Jupiter. You're like, whatever. So yeah, I definitely understand it. And I think it's important for us to amplify that, even when I did take the route as a nurse, you don't get all universal coverage to be a nurse in every state. You have to get licensed to be working, in that state. So just for people to understand that it's more to it than just, it's no umbrella effect when it comes to majority of any credential, to be quite frank, you know what I mean? I'm honest. So awesome. So the third question I have to ask you is, how was your experience once you became a midwife and started your practice? How was that now?
For me, that was a little like, oh. So now.
Yeah, we're like, what to do?
What am I doing now? But it was a little different than a lot of other midwives, because I went right from school to a birth center. I opened a birth center.
Okay.
Right. I had another young midwife who was like, okay, great. Let's do it. I'll help you. So we kind of like got in there and just got to it. So I wasn't alone.
Yes.
A lot of midwives, they finish school and then they're out there like, okay, here you go, here's your credentials, and off you go. Like, wait, I feel like what? So I was blessed to have the opportunity to not have to go it alone, And
I call it like the Boss Baby effect. You ever seen that cartoon Boss Baby? I said, I swear, midwifery school for me, even though I had nursing background of a couple of years, like 6 or 7 years, I literally felt like Boss Baby. Like, they literally gave me a briefcase, like, okay, baby, at 2, like, go ahead, go be an adult. And I'm like, huh? So
yes,
I definitely resonate with like not doing it alone. It's so important. But honestly, we're never meant to do things alone. We're not. You know what I'm saying? That's why we're created to be with one another. Even though midwife means with women, or you know what I'm saying? So it's like we weren't meant to be alone. And so that's so let's dive in a little bit into when you started the birth center. How was that? Like, how was that transition once you were up and running? Like, how did that go?
It was interesting. And what I found out is that things don't always work out the way you plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Because at the time I opened the birth center, another midwife. Now I had sought another midwife and told her, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to do. What do you think about it? We can join forces. And she was a year ahead of me in school. And she says to me, no, I don't want to do that. I said, oh, okay, well, I'll find somebody. I'm going to do it. 1 month later, she opened a birth center.
Oh, wow.
Not too far from my location. I was like, okay.
Well, if God be for you, who can be against you? Don't worry.
No, exactly. But for me, young entrepreneur, I'm like, okay, so now what? Yeah. The community was a very small community. I had never had a birth center there before. So home birth and out of hospital birth was kind of like new, especially in our community. Yeah. Right. So we got the clientele, but when we got around to, it's time for delivery, we're going to get prepared and all this, everybody was like, Miss Brenda, what if I just stay home and you come to me? Can we do that? I was like, of course. I'm not going to say no,
Hey, sometimes you got to say no.
So I'm like, okay. So everybody wants a home birth. So I'm like, okay, if everybody wants a home birth, why am I paying for all this? You gotta.
Gotcha. Yeah, the overhead costs. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, okay. So now I have skills. I've got the birth center up and running. I've created all the documentation and created the protocols and the contracts and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, all is not lost. I learned something from this.
Yeah.
So I took that knowledge and I went and I helped another midwife open a birth center.
Okay.
So I closed mine. I continued on with my clients and did home births. And I went out there and helped her to open a birth center.
Okay.
So I took all that energy and I did that. I was like, what do you think about a birth center for your community? She was like, well, if the women want it, then we can do it. And so that's what we did.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, God will always lead you to your his purpose and plan. Because that's really ultimately where it boils down to, is all about God's perfect plan.
That's right. And being in his perfect will for our lives.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the next question is, would you honestly recommend someone becoming a midwife?
I definitely would. But I recommend women who have that. So people get into midwifery for different reasons. Yeah. And I noticed that when I was in school. Some women, they thought it was cool. It's the in thing. It's trending. They read a book. Yeah. And it's like, oh, yeah, I want to do that. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, you ready for that? Yeah. But it has to be in your heart. I think, like you said in the beginning, midwifery is a calling. Yeah. Yeah. And those that are called, God will make sure he provides and put the right people in the right places. So I believe if an individual feels called to midwifery and birth work, and they have that interest in birth work, I think midwifery is a great opportunity.
Absolutely.
And it's a great place to be.
Yeah. If wherever you're called to be, you better be there. Yeah. Be at that appointment.
That's right. That's one appointment you don't want to miss.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that. No, the calling on your life, you do not want to miss that. So the next question is, what would you tell how about this? Since you're 7, because the question actually says, what will you tell your 5-year-old self? So I say, what would you tell your 7-year-old self about following your dreams?
Hold tight. Yeah. It's going to happen.
All right. Ooh,
in God's time, it's going to happen.
I know if I was that 7-year-old girl, you told me that, I'm like, ooh, I'm excited. Ooh. Yeah. All right. Great. So the next, this segment, so I have another part, like I guess you call it a part 2. So in this segment of the podcast is called The One, right? Like we're the one, God's the one, we the one, right? It is a lightning round of questions with one word in it, and you have 1 minute to answer it. So we're gonna have one word in it.
Say it one more time.
Okay, so this segment is called the one, right? It's a
Okay.
lightning round of questions with the word one in it, and you have 1 minute to answer them.
Okay.
All right, are you ready? Are you got time's on the clock? I know, right?
Let me get a sip
So
of my tea
I
first.
know. Yeah, take a sip of your tea. I get you. I got you. All right. So the first question is, what is one of the okay, sorry. What is one misconception that you have encountered that people have said to you about midwives or midwifery? Like, what's one misconception you ever come across a lot?
Got to use the word one, right?
No. You don't have to. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That midwives are hippies.
Are hippies. Wow. Okay. That's an interesting one. And you know what? We've been here since the beginning of time, right? Yeah. Commercialism or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, no, okay. The next question is, what is one tip you have learned about entrepreneurship?
One tip I learned: just do it.
Okay.
Just do it. Just
Yeah.
and when you do it, things will fall in place.
Yeah.
God will put people in place. He'll put the finances in place, all that stuff to make it happen. But you got to be dedicated to stepping out on the water.
Yeah.
Right. And walking.
And walk. Yeah. Walk.
Yeah.
Faith without works is dead, right? So keep walking. So what is one tip that you've learned about self-care as a midwife? Don't
Sorry
laugh
about that.
I don't laugh. We need to be serious.
Sorry about that. But the one thing I learned about self-care is it's essential. Mm-hmm. Essential. We don't do it enough. Mm-hmm. And if you think about, there's 30 days in every month, give yourself at least one day.
God gave us one.
3. I would say 3. I would say give yourself 3, right? That's 10% of the 30.
Lord.
Right? Mm-hmm. But at least one day just to take care of yourself. Yes. It is essential.
It's essential. I love that. And that's a one word, exactly. Essential. Self-care, essential. So what is one tip you have learned about relationships since becoming a midwife? Any types of relationship, like the word here.
Yeah. They're valuable. Mm-hmm. Relationships are valuable. And the most important ones are the ones that are most dear to your heart. Yeah. But, mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So the next question is, what is one thing you would love to see us as a people to move us forward in having healthier birth outcomes? What is one revolutionary thing you would love to see us do?
Be vocal about birth options. Okay. Right? Because a lot of women to this day still don't know that they have options. Yeah. I see them all the time and they're like, oh, I thought you had to go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. Or we talk about natural birth and the process of birthing outside of the hospital. And they go, so when do we go to the hospital? Right. So do I go the next day? Or do you take me to the hospital? I'm like, no. Yeah. And then you go, and explain that, what true options are and what that really looks like. Yeah. And they can own. I really want our community to take back our birthrights because I don't know. I shared with someone today. They said, when you give birth, you lose yourself. Mm. And that hit me. I was like, what? And she said, yeah, you lose yourself and it takes a while to get back to yourself. So I replied to her and I said, well, I'm always honored to attend and be there with families and especially women when they give birth because I see them blossom and transform. Yes. So you don't lose yourself. You transform into the mother that God called you to be. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's a rebirth. Right. Yeah. You'll never be that woman who never gave birth. Mm-hmm. Once you've given birth, you can't go back.
No,
You
yes.
continue to evolve and grow and
Mm-hmm.
transform into the
Yeah.
woman that you're created to be.
Yes, it's a transformation, and I
Yeah.
think that's what it is. It's so interesting because even when you said it, ignited a lot of different things inside of me, especially when you said having a voice. It's almost like a beat. Know that you have the power. Know the power of your voice, and that your
That's
voice does
right.
matter,
Yes.
right? And then also when you were talking, I started thinking about it's so important, really, to be that to be that example.
Right.
When I joined midwifery school, even though I thought, I was on the run since 16 for it, I got into midwifery school at 28, I think I was.
Mm-hmm.
By that time I had my daughter, she was 5, and I remember her seeing me reading the books and different things. She's asking me questions like, "Mommy, is that the anus?" No, she said, "Is that a penis?" And I said, "No, that's an anus," because she's looking at the anatomy. I was like, "But that's good, at least you're seeing these things." And she's watching birth
Yes.
videos with me, and she's at the birth center, so now she has a whole different projection, or
Right.
what birth is, so it doesn't seem
Right.
foreign for her to see these things or to hear these things.
And be unaware.
Yes, and be so now, and so that's what I'm saying, is so important for us to really be in these places and spaces and to honor the calling that we have
Mm-hmm.
to support mothers and babies. If that's what you're really called to
Called
do,
to
then
do. Exactly.
step up and do it. And I'm saying in any form or fashion, it doesn't necessarily have to be a midwife. It could be
Right.
just a support person. Like,
right.
that's originally what we were. We weren't necessarily
Yes.
had these titles per se, but I
Mm-hmm.
was with that person to support them while they're having.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, even though I know it's a 1 minute segment, I just had to stop and like, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes. So what is one word you would like to leave with our listeners that would carry them? Yeah. So what is one word that you would leave with our listeners that carried you through one of your hardest times in life? Like what one word or one phrase or that carried you
Mm-hmm.
through a tough time that you were having that you would like to leave with our listeners?
I would say faith
Mm-hmm.
and strength, because those are the two things that kept me going,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm strong enough. I got this. The strength lies within me to do
Yes,
that
yes,
which I strive to do.
yes,
And then
yes.
for me, faith is a big thing. Like, okay, I'm speaking into existence. I believe it. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes, yes.
So those two things
Yeah,
that really got me through some really, really hard times.
I hear you. Yeah. And your faith, yeah, that's
It
very
plays a
big.
huge role.
It's
Yeah.
huge. Yeah, it will definitely carry you through tough times for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last question is, what is one thing our listeners can help support you to further your cause in this work that you do here? Is there any like business you want to support, your own, any
Mm-hmm.
fundraisers, charities, organizations that you want to amplify this time?
Mm-hmm.
Like tell us about your handles, like where you
Uh-huh.
are, your business, your
Girl,
name.
I don't know nothing about no handles.
Oh,
Okay.
well, tell us about your business, the name, the website, where people can find you, Mother Brenda. Tell the people now. Tell them now.
So there's a lot of information I like people to be able to tap into. We have a website called Vanguard Minds Coaching.
Okay.
And in Vanguard Minds Coaching, there's a segment called New Birth Journey.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And in New Birth Journey, the whole goal there is we're aiming to eliminate the fear and the tension and the pain, syndromes that confuse women about birth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we know it can be intense,
Mm-hmm.
but we can work through these things to make it, I believe, what God called birth to be. God, I think he called birth to be transformative for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when we tap into it in a way that we take out the word pain,
Right.
we know it's not pleasurable,
Mm-hmm.
but we can transform how we view pain.
Yes, reframe it. When I was teaching
Yeah,
childbirth ed, I said, how about we call it positive pain? Like pain doesn't always have to be
yeah,
negative pain. You know what
purposeful.
I mean?
I always
Purposeful,
tell
right?
them
It's
purposeful.
purposeful, it's positive, it's
Mm-hmm.
serving a purpose. Yeah. So yeah, yep,
Uh-huh.
yep, yep, yep.
So we in today's society, we've connected childbirth to
Mm-hmm.
things contractions and pain and it's this and it's that, and you can't do it without drugs. But, so with New Birth Journey, our aim is to transform that and put birth back to where we did it without drugs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We did it.
We did it,
just did it.
And you tapped into the power that was already within you, because a lot of women don't get a chance to experience that power because we substitute in, transforming with the epidural or the whatever drug or, the nitrous oxide, so that we don't experience it. We get through this and we just have a kid. Like, no. That all that is in there for a purpose.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we don't tap into it, we leave a lot on the table.
Yeah. And I think that's, even though it's not a part of the segment, but it's so multidimensional because it, and even in the regards of going through process, like I said, sometimes a lot of times we want to go around it. It makes it even harder versus actually going through. And so like somebody told me the best way out is always through. And a lot of times it really is, what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but for those, that do take medication, I get it, to each their own, and,
each their own.
If they feel like they need that, by all means, honor that calling inside of you if that's the call. But it's important, though, to understand that there is the option actually to do it without it. It's all about having the knowledge of it and also knowing that you are supported and that you are the drugs is what support you, right? To a certain degree. And now imagine knowing that my body can't support me or the people around me is able to support me in this birthing process, even with the dynamics of proper alignment, body alignment, nutrition, exercise and squat stretches, those hip ligaments and stuff, all the things. So so that's a great organization. And just for letting everybody know that any the organization that she shares, I will put it down in the post. So in the description of the podcast, so that you guys can be able to tap into the organizations that she lists. And also, you want to name your practice, Mother Brenda, so that people know about it?
Yes, my practice is New Life Midwifery.
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah, and that's where are you?
I'm a little bit of everywhere.
Yeah, I know, right? Mobile midwife in the house, right?
Serving Central Florida predominantly.
Okay.
I also serve Central New Jersey.
Okay. All right. You're gonna have to catch her on the fly, everyone. Catch her on the fly.
First come, first serve.
I know, right?
Get me.
Make sure you catch her.
You.
Yeah, just connect. And so with that said, that's a wrap for today's episode of Inside Birth Podcast. Once again, I want to thank Miss Mama Brenda Francis for honoring us and being a guest today at today's episode. And I truly appreciate it. And for our listeners out there, you can catch Inside Birth Podcast on Spotify and YouTube the second Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our next episode with another community midwife. And if you enjoy the educational content that we provide here at Black Sisters Birth Academy, then I tell everyone, any opportunity, give us a like, share, subscribe, press notification bells, do all the things. Even though I'm young, sometimes I'll be like, just press all the bells. And so that you can be informed when our next episode arrives. And as we say here, so once again, thank you, Mother Brenda. Thank you so much for honoring your call and answering and for doing the work that you're called to do. I pray that you will do the same and honor your voice and use your voice and know that it's important, that it's essential to honor yourself and do the self-care that's necessary so that you can continue to serve and to be there for yourself and for those that you love, because that's so important. So thank you once again for being with us and sharing your light. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yay. So with that said, like I say here at Black Sisters Birth Academy, remember that birth is what we do. Until next time, everyone. That's right. Until then, everyone, blessings and goodbye.